Hi, Annie here, and today I'm doing part 2 of my movie musicals collection. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands, but we'll just run with it. Anyway, I filmed part 1 and it was up on my channel, so I'll link it below in case you haven't seen it. You can watch that first or after, either one, doesn't matter. And anyway, I'm just gonna get cracking with this. So the first one that I have here is Funny Face. This is of course Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn and Kay Thompson. This movie is about a bookshop employee in the form of Audrey Hepburn who kind of accidentally ends up becoming a high fashion model when Fred Astaire spots her when he's out hunting for a location to take some editorial pictures for a magazine like Vogue. Anyway, the music numbers in this are great. Givenchy did the all the fashions for it, which are just breathtakingly beautiful. There's some amazing songs that were done by George and Ira Gershwin. There's How Long Has This Been Going On, Think Pink, and what are some of the Let's Kiss and Make Up, and He Loves, She Loves, and there's just some amazing scenes. They also visit the Eiffel Tower and all this stuff when they get swept off to Paris. So it is an enjoyable, and it's probably definitely one of my favorite Fred Astaire movies. The next one I have here is Don't Eat the Daisies, starring David Niven and Doris Day. David Niven stars a theater critic who becomes one of the big theater critics in New York. He takes a job at one of the big papers, and this is based around how his professional life is changing and also how his home life is changing when they move out of a cramped New York apartment, him and his family, into a house in the country. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. It's kind of a hard one to summarize, it feels like. Niven is, as the character is learning how to best navigate the new career. As a drama critic, sometimes writing bad reviews gets you more attention than writing nice ones, but this is, so that's a big part of the kind of overall arc of the story, and I'm giving nothing away there, I don't think, by saying this. This is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, starring Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. They play two performers. Marilyn Monroe has a fiance who's quite wealthy, and as they're taking a boat ride across the Atlantic Ocean, his father hires a private detective to see if he can dig up some dirt on the two girls or see if they can fault their behavior at all while on this trip. And then things ensue from there. This is a Howard Hawks directed production. Charles Colburn also stars in it as an older man who's getting a bit carried away with Marilyn's character, and it's another quite a cute, fun musical. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is performed in this movie, and yeah, it's a bit of a not mistaken identities, but there's a missing tiara at one point that causes quite a bit of trouble for the girls. So yeah, again, I feel like I'm not doing some of these ones justice because I'm trying to go and not make this video too long. But you'll have to let me know if you like any of these movies or what you think of some of them as well. I'd say that's one of my favorite Marilyn movies. Actually, I like quite a few of her movies, but not necessarily because of her. Anyway, I'm getting so sidetracked here. She's good, but I'm not somebody that like just anything Marilyn does I love type thing. But I do like quite a few of them. This is the Fred Astaire collection, and Royal Wedding is in this, which stars Jane Powell and Fred Astaire and Peter Lawford, and anyway, those are the kind of main three, and Fred Astaire plays part of a brother-sister dance team that are doing a play on Broadway called Royal Wedding, and then they end up getting shipped off to London, England, when the royal wedding is actually taking place, where they both meet other people. The sister meets somebody on the ship over in the form of Peter Lawford, who's a bit of a playboy, and Fred Astaire meets a chorus girl in this production and starts a romance with her. So there's quite a bit going on in that, and but also like now it's a more dated musical in the sense that it has like older style of singing in it and all this stuff, but this is also the movie where he dances on the ceiling, which is just an amazing number that used to mystify me as a child. This movie also has second chorus, which is Burgess Meredith and Fred Astaire, who play friends who play band instruments, and they're both trying to kind of become big band stars. So that one is less memorable and less interesting, and it's good, but it's less kind of tight. Like the storyline is less engaging. I don't know, just not as good. This is Roberta, starring Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. I think this was maybe the third or fourth one that they'd done together. The dancing is amazing in this. It was based on a Broadway hit. Now, as fun and as lovely as the dance numbers are, it also has some real serious moments in it, which you see a lot more in the older musicals, where they encompass, you know, the atmosphere of the movie that encompasses quite a bit more than in ones from like the 60s, where it tended to be much more all one tone. Like if it was happy, it was happy, and if it was you know, kind of like the Sound of Music was you know, more serious, and it tended to be all of that, whereas this definitely has some moments of sadness that come more out of the blue in this, but that's just the older movies tend to do that in general. Here I have Bells on Their Toes, which was a sequel to the original Cheaper by the Dozen movie. Now, where the original Cheaper by the Dozen was not a musical, this one definitely was. I'd watched Cheaper by the Dozen quite a bit when I was younger. I'd never seen this one until I saw the disc of it, and it really surprised me when it turned out that it was a musical, because it's just such a different thing from what the first movie is. So it does also star Myrna Loy, and has Janine, or I'm not even ever sure actually how to pronounce her name, Jean Crane, not sure. But it has a lot of the original cast, but it's just such a different kind of tone of movie. Obviously made for a lot less money, but it's really kind of interesting, but also quite different. So, yeah. Anyway, here is It's Always Fair Weather. This was another one that I had not seen ever, I don't think, until a few years ago. And I ended up picking it up on disc after seeing it on Turner Classic Movies. And this is Gene Kelly, and it's another Comden and Green written play originally. I believe it was a play originally. Anyway, it's Comden and Green, and I believe Arthur Freed was the director, produced by Arthur Freed, and then Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen directed it, and they filmed like some almost like guerrilla style in New York for some of the dance numbers here. I remember seeing Gene Kelly interviewed. It might have actually been on here. It might have been on something else. Sometimes I can't remember where I saw a documentary, or an interview from. But this is about some old army buddies that then have a 10-year reunion, and they see how different their life is and how different maybe they are from what they expected each other to be from knowing each other during the war. Some amazing dance numbers. Gene Kelly, when he does the roller skate number, which if you watch this, it's stunning. Also, I think better than the sing, like way better than the Singing in the Rain number, which was good and fun, but this is just like jaw-droppingly like beautiful, and you just go, that would have been like the technical aspect as well as the atmosphere it creates is just amazing to me. There's also a really amazing scene with garbage cans. Again, not something you'd think would be amazing unless you've seen like Stomp, I guess, or something like that, but it really is a stunning movie. I think it's probably superior to Singing in the Rain in all ways, except that the kind of nostalgia that it invokes, if that makes sense. Like, it's a great kind of nostalgia, but Singing in the Rain is definitely more 100% more like just joy, whereas this has a bit more like guts to it, but equally, I really like that aspect of it. But the dancing in it is just amazing. Here we have another Gene Kelly movie. It's Frank Sinatra, Gene Kelly, and Katherine Grayson in Anchors Away. This, again, they're playing two Navy guys who end up running into a child, and there's lots going on, but they end up trying to return this child home. He was a young child that decided he was going to join the Navy as well, and he has to be returned to his guardian, who is Katherine Grayson, and I believe is his aunt or a friend of the mother's, or some such thing like this. She's not the mother itself, and they end up striking up a friendship, and a little bit more. It looks like from the way the movie goes. Anyway, here we have the Disney Classics 4 movie collection. I've pulled this one because of the Happiest Millionaire, although it does also have the one and only Genuine Original Family Band, which is also another musical. But the Happiest Millionaire, which was Fred MacMurray, I think his last Disney feature, and there's a lot of familiar faces in it as well. It is supposed to be set in the late 1800s and is about a millionaire that just kind of has a very kind of militant philosophy for how life should be lived, and he's got some kids, and it's quite long. It's well over 2 hours, and does have the intermission thing in the middle of it. But it's a fun one. I wasn't sure about it the first time I watched it, but then I've really warmed to it. So, that it's that kind of movie. I think it was just because it wasn't one that I grew up with. Here I have the Doris Day and Rock Hudson 3-pack. And this is Pillow Talk, Lover Come Back, and Send Me No Flowers. Pillow Talk is definitely the best of this group, although both the other ones are quite good. I like Send Me No Flowers as well, although there's, some problematic elements to some of the movies, but in the gender politics of the day, they are enjoyable. And Pillow Talk really does have some great songs in it and really set the scene for those 60s sex comedies that followed. And in diametrical opposition of that, here I have the TCM Greatest Classic Films Collection, and it's the Busby Berkeley musicals. So this one has 42nd Street, The Gold Diggers of 1937, Footlight Parade, and Dames. So the two earliest movies in this were from 1933, and then with the latest one being 36. Now, if you haven't seen a Busby Berkeley musical, you need to, because the dance numbers are insane. They are trippy beyond belief, but they also the technical execution of them is just mesmerizing. And they are mesmerizing even if you know nothing about dancing. Some of them are so bizarre, but also so beautiful. The plots in this, some of his movies have better plots than others. They really are a showcase for the dancing, although there were a couple in here that were definitely better than others. Oh, and James Cagney is a song and dance man in these. He did several of the Busby Berkeley musicals, and he was a dancer, and not always a gangster. So that's a little fun thing to watch for if you're used to watching James Cagney play a gangster. And here we have Spice World. Now, this is a movie that is very dear to my heart, and the Spice Girls are very dear to me anyway, but because of what they meant in my own life. But this is the movie, and of course it's their music that they, sang on their albums in the movie. And it is quite a weird plot line. It's quite it's very fun. It's a very fun movie, but it might be somewhat unexpected if you haven't seen it before, because it is. If you've ever seen S Club 7, the TV show, and those kind of things, this was the original movie that was that kind of odd, jumpy, where all of a sudden they're having to deal with aliens, or all of a sudden they're having to do this. Richard E. Grant is in this, which is just amazing. Alan Cummings is in this, George Wendt, Mark McKinney, Roger Moore. So many great people make appearances in this, but Richard E. Grant and Alan Cummings are actually like big, like major roles in it. So if you're looking for anything like that and want a bit of a 90s throwback, this is a great choice. But anyway, and I think I'm actually going to split this into 3 parts because I have quite a bit left and I don't want to make any of these super long. So that will be coming out soon. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. I try to put out new video every Wednesday, and occasionally a sneaky one gets put up on the weekend. But you know, lately there's been other stuff going on, which if you're interested in knowing about it all, you can watch my update video from a few weeks ago. That will also be linked below, as well as part 1 of my musicals collection. So if you haven't seen that, make sure to go check it out. Anyway, let me know if you have any favorite musicals that so far you haven't seen, or if you have any thoughts on the ones that I have shown, and I'll see you soon. Bye.